For?
I had someone in the hallways at QVC the other day. I coughed, and we were the only people in the hall, and the woman was walking in front of me. And she's like, wow, that's a really loud cough. And I'm like, I'm a really loud guy.
I'm a 6-foot guy, yeah.
Well, she said a big cough, rather. I'm a big guy.
That's
Sorry.
funny.
That's the way it happens.
When we talk about organization, we've been through the bath area, the kitchen. We showed people how to organize their closets. The one thing we don't think about in organization, which everybody needs, is our electronic organization. When you've got a wall outlet, you've got 2 plugs. That's not enough anymore. Building codes have not changed since the early 1960s, and they still space those outlets exactly the same distance apart. But we've got more stuff we plug in, more stuff that we charge, and more things that are expensive today than ever before. TV sets now aren't just a few $100s.
No.
They're several hundreds of dollars. So you need surge protection at the same time that you need more power. And with so many plugs being the big fat black transformers that are a part of everything from my coffee maker to my cell phone charger, your regular power strips and your regular plugs don't work. So Quirky came to the rescue.
Great idea. And Quirky is a company that's all about making innovation accessible to everybody. So this design was not done by some engineer, not some guy with 17 different degrees. It was a guy named Jake in Milwaukee, Wisconsin.
And where was his scientific laboratory of discovery?
Well, it was his basement.
Yeah.
He just got frustrated with that old school power strip that you really just can't put all those plugs in. He said, you know, why don't I make the power strip flexible? Why don't I make it larger? Why don't I make it the ability to bend? So now when we have all these large, awkward plugs, they actually fit.
We had, when the original Pivot Power came to QVC, we sold, and I can't remember the exact number, I know it was well over 50,000 sets. In fact, I think it was
a couple hundred thousand. A couple 100,000 is what it was.
This is the new set. This is a Pivot Power 2.0. You're going to get not one, but 2 of them for a price of $39.98. You just used every one of those 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 plugs.
6 ports.
And all of those are obscure shapes inside. That's an old-fashioned
That's an old timer right there.
And
a lot of people don't even use that anymore, but I put that on there just to show you that large plug. Here's the cell phone charger. Here's the other large plug, the awkward plug that sticks off to the side.
Yep.
With the traditional power strip, it's not going to work. With the Pivot Power, it is, with 6 large awkward plugs.
We now have colors. You'll get 2 of them, 2 in black, 2 in white, or 2 in the dark blue. And the dark blue is the most limited. This is brand new this week, over 4,000 of them already ordered. By the way, your shipping and handling is nothing. That's been taken care of. That's free. If you were to go to the Quirky website, you would pay $29.99 for 1 unit. We have them on the air at a substantial savings, and you're picking up 2.
And this is all the versatility you have with this. So most people think electronics, Dan. They think, oh, I'm just going to use this in the office, or it's just going to be for the media room. It's great in those places.
Okay.
But think about all the different rooms in your house where you have multiple
The
plugs.
hair dryer, the flat iron, the curling iron. And I'm just talking about yours.
The straightener.
In the bathroom area, in a workshop.
Sure.
For the kids' rooms. If you think about it, in a bedroom, you usually have the wall outlet with 2 plugs right smack dab in the middle of where the bed is.
Sure.
So if you want to plug a table lamp on for each table,
you're done.
You're done.
You're done.
If you've got a sleep number bed, you can't plug it in.
And here's a traditional power strip right here. You can see with these 2 large plugs that I have, and everybody plays this little game at home. We may not want to admit it, but we all play this game of we say, you know what, I'm going to unplug Mom's cell phone because I got to plug my cell phone in, and I'm going to plug the other device in. We also do this where we put a plug that hangs over the edge.
Right.
And now if we just tap that a little bit, it's going to fall off. So if this is underneath your desk at work, that doesn't really work out too well. That's the frustration of the old school power strip. You can see just by size alone how much larger the Pivot Power is. So it's 17 inches long, which is substantially longer than a traditional 9-inch power strip. But then that flexibility is the key. So even with an awkward plug like this that sticks out to the side, we can bend and flex.
I swear manufacturers are making these things bigger just to make it more frustrating.
Well, with
for
electronics, the only thing that's gotten bigger has been the plug. Everything else has gotten smaller.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
we have smaller, you know, we have smaller everything else. But with the plug itself, we get these large plugs, and they're awkward, and they don't really fit the way we want them to fit. That's why this design is great, because again, 6 different plugs, and they just fit in there nice and easily. Bend it, flex it, however it works best for you.
All right, now there is one other factor that really makes it a great purchase. It also gives you surge protection.
And that's key.
And your outlet at home does not. Surge protection doesn't just protect you from worries of things like a lightning strike. It's in the summer when your next door neighbor's air conditioner goes on and your lights dim for a split second. That's a power surge. They happen every single day, and they happen countless times through the day. And sooner or later, if you don't have surge protection, it will burn you. And think of all the things that you've spent good, hard-earned money to pay for that you plug into the wall. Your computer. That's not a couple $100. That's several $100.
Charging your tablet,
your
television
TVs,
set, sure.
your telephones. All these things are now susceptible because all of them have little electronic brains in them, and the Achilles heel of the modern day electronics are power spikes or power surges.
And not all surge protectors are the same either. You could go to the dollar store, you could get one of these cheap power strips,
yes,
and it says surge protection. And one of the measurements they use to determine how much surge protection something has is called joules. A lot of those little, cheaper ones out there, maybe 200, maybe 300 joules of protection. With this newer version of the Pivot Power, this is 1,080 joules of protection. That's a measurement on how big of a hit this thing can take while it's protecting all of those electronics that you have. You talked about it, Dan. The computer, the printer, the router, the television set. A big surge comes in, you could lose all of those things.
Right.
Pivot Power is going to be able to protect your device.
With 1,080 joules, if you do get a massive spike that is above your electronics ability to deal with their handle, this thing will throw itself on the sword, and it will give up the ghost.
Yes.
And you spent, it's a little under $40, so about $20 a piece. But that $20 was the best insurance policy you could have possibly have invested in. Because that means that your TV, once you unplug it, put it into another Quirky piece, another Pivot Power, you plug it in, it still works. That's a nice day.
Well, that's a nice thing. And hopefully you never need it. Now, those are the things you don't want to have to worry about. And then the big story, of course, is just the ability to plug all that stuff in. And that's the frustrating thing we deal with today. You talked about building codes not changing, Dan.
Since 1961.
Yeah, if you have a house that was built like in the late 1980s, people weren't thinking when they were building those houses, they weren't saying, you know what, we need to have
something
plugs
for the high definition flat screen
TV. We got to get ready
TV.
for the tablets and the cell phones coming out there.
Yeah, the whole George Jetson thing kind of snuck up on us.
Yeah, it really surprised the builders out there. But what's really neat about it is that nowadays when we have all these extra things, just think of your bedroom alone. It's not just 2 lamps, it's chargers. It's also going to be your alarm clock. It's also going to be your sleep number bed.
Yep.
We all have so many more things that we plug in on a regular basis. And instead of playing that game of unplugging this and unplugging that, the Pivot Power, even with these large plugs, you're not going to fit 2 or 3 things in a power strip. You're going to fit 6 of them in there because we can bend it and flex it to put everything in there that we need to put in there.
You and I have known each other for a long time.
Yes, we have.
You know how frugal I am.
That's one word for it.
Downright cheap, yes. Downright cheap. One of the other factors, eventually it'll pay for itself. This has an on-off switch on it. Simple push button. Almost everything that we plug in nowadays utilizes, the plug's easier to see on some of the other colors, there it is, utilizes what's called phantom power. Good example, can I show you? The TV behind me, even when you hit the remote control to turn it off, it still draws energy. So, at your desktop, when you're done and walk away, hit the power button. You're now canceling out any power going to the things that are plugged into it, which means you're not paying for energy that you're really not using.
Nope.
Close to 5,000 of these have been ordered this week, 1,000 just in this show alone.
Okay.
Greg, thank you.
Always great to see you.
Always nice to have you here. 3 different